I believe I found the best format for journaling. I've been using this for a while just to document my findings and just life things. This format gives you a lot of fluidity and creativity with a lot of your writing, but while still holding structure. Note-taking can get messy really quick. Also isn't like super mind-numbing where it feels like a teacher is telling you gotta follow Cornell notes or something. It's not that, I promise you. Let's get into it. So the two strategies that I'm referring to are the Johnny Decimal System and the Simon Spaeti Daily Notes. For these two strategies, you don't really need a particular text editor or note-taking app. All you really need is just whatever you feel comfortable with. I'm going to be using Obsidian, but you can use Notion, Google Docs, VS Code. That's how you move. Don't sleep on VS Code for notes. It's actually pretty good. Once you have those, you're ready to begin. First step is identify 5 to 9 important aspects of your life. I'm actually going to show you my setup. You can see what I'm doing for my daily notes. Now, I forget that this ThinkPad is fucked up. Okay, so now that we're in Obsidian, I have gone ahead and identified 8 key aspects of my life. I have like the system, which is basically systematic things like taxes. You gotta pay taxes. Personal growth, career growth, Bytes guide, which if you aren't subscribed, by the way, feel free to subscribe. I have money and finance, relationships, health and energy, and big life bets. You'll notice the numbering system goes from 0, 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, and that right there is part of the Johnny Decimal System. And you'll see in a minute why I chose 2 digits as opposed to just 1 digit. So if we go inside one of these folders here, you can see that I have 2 notes inside of this one. I have thoughts on who I want to become and thoughts on habits. This is where Simon Spaeti's idea comes in. We start the name of the file with parent number. So for example, it's 10 here. And when we add subnotes, we just do 10.01. And then the second part here, the key thing here is thoughts on. This is what Simon Spaeti mentions in his blog. Shout out to Simon Spaeti, by the way. He is absolutely brilliant, and so is the team behind the Johnny Decimal System. Basically, these notes are just thoughts on anything you can be. It's less about trying to be perfect and more so about trying to get your ideas just out of your head and written down. So this article basically talks about how Simon Spaeti handles daily notes. I really resonated with this article because I end up losing notes and they end up in different folders. I like to keep the thoughts on prefix on all my notes just to serve as a reminder. How I like to organize them is I like to have the date of when I'm writing the thing or when I'm taking the note. And then I like to keep maybe a bulleted list, paragraphs, it doesn't matter. Usually at the bottom of each note, I like to kind of have some metadata on when that note was created. Or maybe I could go back and use that as reference. One of my favorite things about this note-taking strategy is that while you continue building on it, you can see how your perspective has changed over time. You can just add whatever you want, log the date, and write whatever you feel like in that moment and have it down in a well-structured manner. You can see that evolution, which I think is really cool, opposed to having like, 100 different documents from different days that you would have to like aggregate all together. There is one exception to kind of how I like to format my notes, and that's the relationships. I don't really like assigning numbers and decimal places to people, so I decide not to do it. The relationships panel for me is really special, but besides that, it follows a very similar structure. I like to format this in sort of a log of with that person. For example, my brother here. It might just be nice to kind of keep logs of times where you've called or met up with that person, or just maybe a short description of what they're like. It reminds me how well I'm communicating with that person. I really love this method, and I just wanted to share this with you in case you thought it was interesting as well. That's basically it. Be sure to check out Simon Spaeti's and the Johnny Decimal System, their blogs and everything, their articles. I'll leave links to them in the description below. They're amazing. If you made it this far, thank you. I really hope you learned something, and I really hope to see you in the next one. So yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.